Good morning, everybody. Excuse me. I've got a day off work this morning. I've just seen Jimmy off for his graft because I'm in 6 o'clock at the minute. I lie in for me. I already read my just for today. Prayed last night. Prayed hard last night for a certain individual who will go unmentioned. Prayed hard for him. I hope he can sort himself out. We'll leave that there. Just for today. Right. This is brilliant, this. Today, I mean, they're all brilliant, but this today, this is a brilliant one. Narcotics Anonymous offers only one promise, and that is freedom from active addiction. Imagine how it might be if we had arrived at the doors of Narcotics Anonymous, desperate, wanting to stop using drugs, only to be met by a sales pitch. If you just work the steps and don't use drugs, you'll get married, live in the suburbs, have 2.6 children and start wearing polyester. You will become a responsible, productive member of society and be fit company for kings and presidents. You will be rich and have a dynamic career. Most of us greeted with such a heavy-handed spiel would have shrieked and bolted for the door. Instead of high-pressure nonsense and frightening predictions, we are greeted with a promise of hope. Freedom from active addiction. We feel a blessed relief come over us when we hear that we never have to use drugs again. We aren't going to be forced to become anything. Of course, after some time in recovery, good things start happening in our lives. We are given gifts, spiritual gifts, material gifts, gifts that we've always dreamed of but never dared hope we'd get. These, however, are truly gifts. They are not promised to us just because we become NA members. All we are promised is freedom from addiction, and it's more than enough. Just for today, I have been promised freedom from active addiction. The gifts I receive are the benefits of recovery. Excuse me, bit of a frog in my throat this morning. I actually fell asleep last night in the meeting. I had like a micro nap. I think it was about a minute. It could have been 30 seconds. It could have been a minute. It was about that, I think. And I was fighting it. I was listening to a brilliant share at the time, but I was, when you listen to a story or you're reading a book and it sent us off. The story sent us off, but I was extremely tired anyway. I spent a massive amount of energy in about 60 seconds. And, I'm not exactly pleased, but that happened, it happened, We can't change what we've done. Can only try and be better. Funny, when I was dreaming in the shower last night, I sort of dreamed that when you wake up like, whoa. And it was, I was dreaming I was on this wing of like a big goose. It was like a big fluffy goose, and the goose was enormous, and I was sat on its wing and it was flying, and the more it flapped its wings, the more I went further down into its feathers, and in the end I was like falling through its feathers. And for whatever reason, I come out the bottom of the wing of the goose and I landed in like the fire of the wash house that I set on fire. I set a wash house on fire when I was off my nut once. I took off with the brother-in-law once for like 3 days on the MCAT and that. And man, I come back from that session and the dream just reminded us of it so much, and it's sort of, I think we dream for a reason. You're reminded of places that you don't want to be, you don't want to go anymore, and that's very much how it felt for me. It's a place that I'd never want to go back to, that active addiction. And I went out for like 3 days. I come back, sneaked in the house at like 4 in the morning. Lily was just born. Lily wasn't back born. There was like a bath full of water in the laminate floor. I'll get to that. But I went out into the wash house outside, and I ground about a quarter of skunk up, 6-7 grams of skunk up. I ground all over. I made a big pile of skunk, and I just started proper blazing buckets. I mean, blasting them. I think I had over 20-30 buckets, easy. And every time I went like that, and I went like that with the gauze. When I had the gauze on, I went like that with the gauze, and I was just emptying the gauze into like an old baby seat that was just on the side, like an old battered, rough old baby seat with like material cloth sort of thing wrapped around it, like the seating, you know what I mean? And anyways, I was kept bonging, blazing them, blazing them, and I kept on doing that with the ash, doing that with the ash, doing that with the ash. So I must have put about, you know, like I say, 20, 30 bongs worth of ash just in this thing. Well, I didn't know it had cindered and smouldered, and I took off back in the house. It was like a patio door. I took off back and laid on the couch, and I was like, you know, probably about half an hour later, I heard this, like, I thought someone was knocking at the window. It was like a scratching, a crackling, what it really was, but I thought it was like a scratching, someone scratching at the window, and I thought, well, I'm not turning around because I'm absolutely fucked. I'm just going to sit here and pretend I'm asleep. And then obviously the scratching started and the knocking started getting louder and louder. And I turned over the couch and looked, and there was literally like flames up against the patio window coming right out the wash house. I mean, it was a blaze. It wasn't a little controllable fire, it was a blaze. So I immediately panicked. I ran upstairs because it's joined onto the house. I'm like, get the bairn out the house, get the bairns, get out the house. He's like, what are you on about? I'm like, fire. So they took off and stood on the front, fucking smoke everywhere, mate. And I grabbed like the bucket full of water, the bath, the baby bath. And I sort of ran towards the fire, and some come out, and it went on the laminate, and I slipped on it, and I just covered myself in this whole bucket of baby water, bath water, while this fire's still gone. So, you know, I jumped out, and there's no water, there's nothing to do. So I thought, brain is here. I jumped over the fence, and I grabbed the neighbour's hose, and I like ran towards the fire, and it just stopped about 2 or 3 metres away from the fire. And I like turned it on, and it was just pissing. It was literally just. I was like trying to like flick it up into the window of the wash house, which was open, to try and, it was just fighting a losing battle to say the least, and the fire was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Next thing you know, ambulance, I said that already, fire engine turned up, right? Full team in all the gear and that with the kecker. Well, they dealt with it in seconds. Seconds they dealt with it because that's the job. And and it was the father-in-law's house I was living in, who lived next door but one. And I knew he was out at the time, so I was like ushering these firemen down the drive. I was like, come on, get out, go, it's out, just go. And I went back, I thought, how the fuck am I going to explain this to the father-in-law? Like, it's his house, do you know what I mean? I thought, what the fuck am I going to explain this? I thought, I seen a big old massive tin of white emulsion on the floor. I thought, no. See, this is where the disease takes you. This is the insanity of some of the things you do. Looking back, it was just so stupid. How I ever thought this was going to be a good idea, how I ever thought that this was going to work, it's just shocking, right? So I just grabbed a paintbrush and I just started painting over all the... It was still... The place was still smoking, yeah? All through the roof and the lot. I thought, no, yeah, I'll paint over it all in white emulsion, you know, so because it was all black with soot. You know, and I painted over it, and I noticed obviously the white paint started to go grey because it was mixing with the soot, you know, and I just, you know, I'm thinking, it'll work, it'll still work this, you know what I mean? So I painted the entirety of the fucking wash house with a white emulsion, which had turned grey with the soot. You know, and I just looked back and I thought, that looks a bit better, you know. Like, what on earth was I thinking? I mean, the place was, even when I was finished painting, it was still smoke coming out of the roof. It's just, that's what that short dream, micro nap took us. That's where it took us. That's what I come out with. That's what I woke up with in my head. Crazy, crazy times. Yeah, little drug taking story for you. And of them, I have thousands. You know, we might share some more, you know, in good time. But Billy Moo is coming up today, so I've took a day off work. Billy Moo, my man, he's coming up today. We're going to go for a sit-down eat. I'm going to pick his brain, and we're going to sit down, and I'm going to dab me under a little bit of podcasting. I'm going to pick his brain. There's a lot of questions I want to ask Billy. You know, there's some stuff that I know about him because I speak to Billy on the regular, and I like Billy a lot. That's why I'm inviting him to my house. That's why I want to meet him today, because I've got a lot of love and admiration for him, you know, to say the least. You know, but if there's any questions that anybody would like to know, or anything anybody would like me to put to Billy Moore, please leave them in the comments, and I'll have a bit of a read of them in an hour or so. And I'm going to jot down a few things what I want to ask him, and we're going to try and make it as professional as we can. You know, we're going to sit down in a nice, comfortable environment, and I'm going to pick his brain for a little bit. So any questions you might want me to ask Billy Moore, please leave them in the comments section. Thanks for listening, people. God bless everybody.